He really is a stone in the shoe of anyone, Muslim or Christian, who is actually trying to get communication going. And there aren't all that many Muslims that want that kind of communication going already. So you throw someone like that in there. And as David produced a video that sort of went viral over the weekend, where he defended his good friend Nabil Qureshi from the hit piece produced by none other than one of the contributors to the Rolex of polemics blogs. Guys, don't you realize every time you use that phrase that everyone laughs, but they're laughing at you and not with you? I mean, seriously? It's just, guys, stop. Wake up. Bad phraseology. Really strikes everyone, including myself, as just, I guess the term today is tone deaf. Really, really tone deaf. Really bad. Anyway, Seth Dunn decided to produce a hit piece article on Nabil Qureshi. And you'll remember, I responded to it, I think the day it came out or the day after. I forget which one it was. It was very, very soon. And what I addressed is a subject that I have addressed over and over and over again in regards to Ahmadi Islam. We'll talk about that in a moment. So Seth put these things out, and so David did one of his responses. And I retweeted it to my followers. Now, there are things in it that I'm going to disagree with or take a different slant on during this program. But you see, here's the problem. There are a lot of people today who seemingly think that you have to have 100% agreement with someone to either think they're a Christian or to recommend them or anything like that. Well, do you agree with them about that? Well, then why would you retweet it? There's just, our society is demonstrating in this current political season an incredible immaturity in thought. And sadly, that is reflected in the church as well. It should be a given that any one of us can express appreciation for someone without demanding that they agree with us 100% on every single thing. In other words, it used to be a given that we recognize that there was a hierarchy of truths. There are things that are absolutely central and definitional. Then you have adiaphora, and not all the adiaphora are as important as other adiaphora. And there are some things that will divide our fellowship in churches, but does not divide our fellowship in Christ, for example. So I could not properly be an elder in a Presbyterian church. I do not have the proper view of church government. I do not have the proper view of baptism from their perspective. And yet we can have close communion in the gospel, and we can stand together for the gospel, and things like this. Well, it seems that fundamental, basic adult maturity is missing in a large portion of the culture today, and therefore it ends up going missing amongst a lot of Christians as well. And certainly there is amongst the, if you've got a good long stripe of the independent fundamentalist Baptist in you, there tends to be this doctrine of separation. And unfortunately, that doctrine of separation, which is necessary on the definitional things, ends up going way down the list of the adiaphora. And so we can all sit around and chuckle about the person who, we can't have anybody in our church who isn't of this particular eschatological perspective. You can agree with us on the Trinity, the deity of Christ, the resurrection, whole 9 yards, but you are mid-trib? You heretic! It's sort of like the joke about the guy. He's about to jump off the bridge. The guy comes up, "Hey, life's worth living." They start talking, go all the way down the list about, oh, you're a Christian, you're a Reformed Baptist, and you go up until you get down to, I'm a Reformed Baptist, May 1875, and the other guy's June of 1875, and die heretic, and he pushes him off the bridge. Many permutations of it, but it speaks to a truth. It speaks to a reality that unfortunately does exist. And so a lot of people struggle with the simple reality that we live in a fallen world. And even within close fellowship of faith, there are going to be differences of opinions amongst believers. And there are two different kinds of people when it comes, well, I'll take that back. There's more than that. But amongst seriously minded Bible believers, there's a limited number of options here. You get the liberals that anything goes and stuff like that. Leaving them out. There are those who basically say, well, this is a term that I heard from someone recently. If you can live with me, I can live with you. Here's where I stand. But if you don't agree, we will not divide over it. And then there are others that will go, if you don't agree with me, I can't live with you. Now, obviously, if you take that position, what you're saying is what we're talking about is absolutely definitional. It defines the faith. It defines the faith for me. It should define the faith for you. The problem is a lot of people, as I said, will take that down the list past the definitional things into the things that do not make a difference, into the adiaphora. And so I think there's a lot of folks who live in a world of inconsistency, where on the one hand they'll say, oh, well, I've learned so much from my Presbyterian friends, oh yeah, and then in life, it's sort of like, but I'm not really going to treat them as Christians. I mean, I'll technically say they are, because I know I have to. But I can't really act that way. Because acting that way would mean I have to show love and do the things that Christians do for other Christians. Encourage them. But I disagree with them. Well, have good conversations. Have good debates. I'm never saying, don't hear me saying you shouldn't discuss these things. But, if you can be open with someone and say, I disagree